Some people run from a fire. Some hear voices and they run towards it, knowing that their next actions could change a life. For 13 years, our guest, Andrew Radziewicz, lived the life of a legacy New York firefighter. Queens born, firehouse raised, engine 211, ladder 119, hard calls, hot nights, brotherhood, tradition. But while Andrew was battling infernos in this world, he was seeing something else entirely. Memories of dying in another lifetime. Deceased friends appearing in his bedroom. Messages from beings he never asked to see and couldn't turn off. For years, he kept it quiet because in a firehouse, you don't talk about ghosts, and you definitely don't talk about angels. Until one voice, one warning saved his life and the lives of his crew. And one headline changed everything. Tonight, we hear the true story of the man known worldwide as the Psychic Firefighter and what happens when the unseen refuses to stay hidden. That's tonight right here on the very best in paranormal programming. I'm Dave Schrader, your host on the Paranormal 60.
I'm not gonna stand here and listen to this baloney. He won't float. He doesn't stand for baloney.
Sounds like a lot of supernatural baloney to me.
Supernatural, perhaps. Baloney, perhaps not.
Good evening, my darklings. Thank you so much for tuning in. Andrew will join us in just a few moments. I did forewarn him I would like to make a little address to the audience before we begin tonight's program. I'll tell you, I've been having a real rough time over the last few weeks about doing these shows. And the reason being that any of you watching across the world knows that there's tragedy that struck the state of Minnesota. No matter which side you're on, it's tragedy. There's senseless deaths and things taking place. And it isn't some faraway land. It isn't even some faraway state. It's knocking on my door. Last night, the Paranormal 360, I ran a pre-recorded episode from, I think, about 4 or 5 months ago and questioned whether I should come on at all tonight. It feels like in these moments, and the way I've maintained doing what I do for many years, was that I placated myself with the concept that let me be the distraction from the rest of the world. Let me be your respite so that for an hour or two, you don't have to think about all the other horrors in the world. But what's currently taking place in our country, I don't know that I necessarily want to be a distraction anymore. Maybe it's time we all start paying a little closer attention. We start being more aware of the things that are taking place. And we decide what kind of line we're going to draw in the sand for ourselves and for the people that we care about. I don't care which side of the line you're on. There have been a lot of senseless deaths, horrific stories coming out from all sides. We talk about scary things, supernatural things, unusual things, magical beings, unbelievable topics. But none of it adds up to the kind of horror that's going on around the world and in our country right now. I don't have words to make it all go away or make you feel better about what we're all dealing with. I wish I did. And that's part of why I don't even know if I should have come forward to do the show tonight or last night, was because I didn't have words and I didn't want to ignore what's going on. Now, the good news coming out tonight in Minnesota is the fact that there has been some change, there has been some movement, and that things are going to back up and be reevaluated from both sides on how this is being handled. And that's important. That's good. that shows that there's some light and some awareness on both sides that the way things are going right now cannot continue. And I don't care which side of the line you're on politically. I don't care how you grew up. I don't care what your belief systems are, in the sense that you're racially motivated, spiritually motivated, whatever. We all need a healing right now. We all need to take a breath, step back, and just take a good hard look at the way we're living our lives, what we're allowing to have happen in our backyards. And I want you to think about those things. I'll continue bringing entertainment, and I'll be here Wednesday with the guys, barring any unforeseen tragedy. We'll be back Wednesday with the news, because I will keep stepping forward and trying to bring you some levity, some enjoyment, and some form of escape from the rest of what the world's bringing. But this was a tough one. I've spent a few days being very emotional about it, just because it's like watching scenes from some dystopian horror movie unfolding right here in front of me. And I know how I feel about it. And I know that if I speak in any one direct term too easily, I will be punished by half of my audience, which is also tragic, that we can't just feel things and speak freely without the fear of letting somebody else down, and just showing that we can all feel vulnerable in these moments. And it's got to be a time in our history when everybody's got to be questioning everything a little bit. And for those of you that are staunchly behind the type of tactics that are taking place, I say this with all the sincerity and love I have in my heart. May your family members, friends, and close ones never find themselves in a position where they feel they might be trying to help and they end up dead. I pray that that does not happen to you, so that you don't know what it feels like to be on the other side of these things. And I just ask for prayers for our nation, for our state, and for the people of the world right now, for calmer heads, peaceful hearts, and the wisdom to make the right choices across the board. The world can be a scary place, but I've seen beautiful resilience in humanity. And as easy as it would be to throw it out the window and just say, it all sucks, it doesn't. There are good people doing good things and making stands. Whether they're right or wrong in your eyes, they try to do something. And I hope that when you try to do something, you are rewarded and not punished or penalized for it. And your feelings on both sides matter. There is no doubt in my heart. But it's time we take time to take peaceful measures. Stop the screaming and the yelling. Stop the hatred. And start to move forward. Because when we do that, great things happen. Big changes come. That's part of our topic this evening with our guest. Seeing those moments, being aware of those moments, and learning to embrace them. When your brain is filled and clouded with anger and hatred and resentment, evolution will never come your way. So I pray that for each and every one of you around the world. To whatever God you believe in, ask for some peace. Ask for some wisdom and clarity. Let's begin the show. Interesting guest, fascinating story. My son is a firefighter in Minneapolis. My biological father was a policeman in Philadelphia. My sons have served in the military, so I'm very proud to be part of a legacy life where so many of the people in my life has been somebody that sees things to step forward and help. And our guest tonight had that calling in many ways. And Andrew's here now with us to talk a little bit about his life, about his experiences, and the amazing things that have come to him as the psychic firefighter. Andrew, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thanks for having me on, Dave. I really appreciate it.
And thank you for allowing me to take a few minutes to address the audience. Sorry it went a little longer than expected. It's just hard to find the right words, right? find the right emotion in these moments right now.
Yeah, and no matter where you are in the world, right? I got friends all over the place, family everywhere, coworkers, former coworkers, everything. So everyone, I feel that we're all connected one way or another. So there's no avoiding or running from anything, because ultimately we got to figure this out together. That's how I look at things. So it's very important.
Andrew, let me ask you real quickly here before we get too deep into this. For the last 20 years that I've been doing paranormal talk radio, I've talked to mediums and psychics and seers and self-titled prophets who said that there is a giant change coming and it's bubbling closer and closer to the surface. Is that what the world is going through right now? Is there some birthing process taking place that we're going through the labor pains right now, but we are going to see bright skies again and a more peaceful environment? Or do you think we're just starting in the labor process?
Yeah, so I think that it feels like definitely we're at the end of a cycle. So even, just to keep it real simple, but one thing I have studied for years too is the Chinese zodiac. So basically this year is very important, 2026, because the energy is a one energy. 2 + 2 + 6 is 10. So that's a one energy. That means new beginning. So we're just getting out of the 9, going to the 1. So basically, yeah, this is very important. Literally, we're at the end of a cycle and the beginning of a new one. So all the things that are happening all over, yes, I feel that things come to a head at times. And then just before they're about to break, right? It's like a wave coming in. You're on the beach. That wave's coming in right before it hits the shore. It pulls out all the shells, all the bottles, all the dirty needles, whatever's in the ocean, and then boom, it crashes and then it's beautiful. But it's got to pull all that stuff out first. So I feel that life, reality, earth, whatever's going on here, sometimes there's like a cleansing or things just happen and all the stuff has to get pulled out in order for all of us to see what is really important, what really matters. So
yeah, from your ears or your lips to God's ears, I hope that is what's coming, is that there's a new evolution, and maybe it is darkest before the dawn, and we're getting to that point of being able to see a new dawn. Take me back. This is not really a surprise to you, the type of life you've led, because this is a bloodline thing, right? Your family has had gifts.
Yeah. So I would say I am the first one to be very vocal about it. But yes, this, has run in my family. It's just not that everybody would come forward and share their story. Mine kind of just happened by accident, how this all just came out. But yes, looking into this at first, I thought it was maybe just me. But as I looked into this, as I met people and started to ask questions, I realized that this was all around. It's been around in my family for many generations. It's just a lot of people don't get the opportunity to fully tap into it, or it was too taboo back in the day. But we're living in different times. So with the internet and things like this, we're able to look into these things and have access instantly. So once again, the internet, right, can be a blessing or a curse. It's what you make of it. So I'm utilizing what's out there to network and connect and meet people all over the world now that are going through the same thing. And I'm very grateful for that, because 20 years ago, I couldn't have done this. I wouldn't be able to do this like I am today. And it's refreshing that you can find a community, find people like that are on here, like-minded people. And it's finding your tribe. That's what it's all about. So yes, there is a family genetic background. And I know people that are tapped in listening to this. If anyone has had paranormal experiences, ask around your family and they may not share, but eventually you'll find out, oh yeah, I saw this when I was a kid. Oh yeah, my grandma saw this. It runs in the bloodline. That's just what I've noticed with thousands and thousands of readings that I've done over the years now.
Were you always aware that there was something different about you and your awareness, or did it just feel so natural you assumed the rest of the world had the same type of experiences?
So I had, at 5 years old, and then at 13, I had 2 best friends die, one at 5, one at 13. So and that's a young age, to deal with any loss, but a friend, especially, like grandparents, elders die, but someone your age that you're hanging out with one day and then gone, how do you process that? How do you make sense of that? And I just came from a very normal household. My dad was a fireman, my mom was a teacher, grew up in Long Island originally. And, they did the best they could to deal with that, which they really didn't know what to say. No, they didn't go through anything like that. But I knew when that happened, I figured there's no way that this is it. This can't be it. And then after the first friend passed and then the second, I started to get some signs. Like I would see outlines, apparitions. I would sense their presence. I would feel like, wow, they're here, but I don't know. How do I really know that? Is it my mind that wants me to believe this because I'm trying to cope with the reality that someone's gone? I don't know. I didn't have the internet. I didn't have resources. My resources then were my grandmother and unsolved mysteries.
Okay.
You know, that's what I would go
great
to.
Resources, yeah.
Yeah, in the 90s, hey, in the early 90s, 1993, there was nothing like this. So I'm watching Unsolved and I'm like, wow, okay, there's others out there, but you know, in the world that something is going on, maybe the possibility is there. And I asked my grandmother, I said, Graham, I said, when you go to heaven one day, can you give me a sign? Because I need to know that you're around, you know, wherever you go with grandpa. And she just looked at me and said, yeah, I will. And I never brought it up again. And then eventually down the road, she kept her promise, which is why I'm doing everything I did. Because I said to her, I go, all right, if you give me a sign, I'll tell everyone. Meaning I thought my family, like I tell my family, I didn't realize I'd be telling everybody in the world, but it is what it is. Life happens. And now, yes, I am not unique in this. I've heard and met thousands of other people that have had something similar where someone's trying to communicate with them. And I've just made this, though, my journey now and my mission to share what I experienced, because I feel that no matter what you're doing in life, whether you're a firefighter, cop, next door neighbor, you're raising 3 kids, working in a funeral home. I've also worked in a funeral home as a mortician, done a lot of interesting things in life. And no matter what you're doing, if you can tap into the spiritual side of whatever it is, you might have an experience one day that can play a role to save your life, which is what happened one day when I was in the firehouse. And if I wasn't doing this, meditating, doing all stuff like this, I may have just brushed off my experience like, that's nonsense, it's nothing. But I knew the sign I got was genuine, and I listened to that sign, and that sign ended up saving my life.
And I want to talk about that, but do you find that people in your station in life, firefighters, EMTs, police, do they all seem to have this innate sixth sense element to them? Because it seems like a lot of people I know that are in that field or those fields, their intuition is pretty dead on about things, and it saves a lot of their lives many times. Do you think that that is a call to service? Like anybody that would join the clergy, you have a call to service because of the abilities that you have. Is that what you've uncovered these years?
Yeah, and I notice nowadays, right, and this time I know in Los Angeles, the LA Fire Department out there, and even FDNY now in New York, they give mindfulness training, meditation, like part of the training. So like that was not, it didn't exist when I was on. It was just kind of like, hey, if you get a feeling, listen to that. Maybe it's that sixth sense, but no one really looked into that. Whereas now they're aware of this and how important this is. And if you train this, yes, proactively, that combined with looking after yourself, right? If you're diluted or, you're not thinking clearly or you're really stressed, that could really affect that signal. But if you tap into this and you train this on a regular basis, just like any muscle, just like working out, absolutely, your intuition before when you roll up to a scene. I've heard stories too with cops and scenes I've been to too, where you know something dangerous is happening and you just hesitate to go in, and then something happens and you go, whoa, I'm glad I listened to that, because definitely I think that we're born with this thing. And then through the trauma and drama and personal stuff we go through in life, this signal or this thing gets filtered, it gets diluted out. We get disconnected. And then we're told it's nonsense. Don't look into that. Then somebody passes away. We have some sort of white light experience, out-of-body experience, near-death experience, UFO contacts, whatever, something that makes us go, whoa, there's something else. And we get reconnected to what we've always been. It's nothing new. We've always been that. That's why young kids, I believe from a young age, can be like, hey, my grandmother passed or my grandfather, but I saw them. Little kids will tell stories or past life stories. Absolutely. And I believe that's because they're not diluted, they're not filtered out of all that stuff. Their signal is clear. It's just us when the parent reacts and says, oh, no, that's nothing. Come on, you're imagining. That's your imagination. Stop talking like that. So it's up to us to change that narrative, because if from a young age, imagine being encouraged or just listening. Oh, wow, tell me about that. Instead of judging or saying that's not real. Imagine, that's what they talk about, the new earth or the shift of the new reality. That's what's going on. It's the young generation. By listening to them and letting them tap into that, that's how we can create this new earth. That's the only way. If we keep the same old thing, same old result. But this new generation of kids, like my kids and kids coming up, they're the ones. That's why it's so important that these adults around my age, 40s, 50s, 60s, that age, it's so important of how we talk to and how we listen to our kids and our kids.
We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, what happened to Andrew in that firehouse? What did he have awaken him? And we'll find out about that when we return right here to your home for all things paranormal. I'm Dave Schrader. This is the Paranormal 60.
A new year is rapidly approaching, which means it's time to stop letting last year's chaos rent space in your head and in your heart. This is the season of new everything. New life, new love, new confidence, new jobs, and new chances to finally become the best version of you that you've dreamt of.
And the universe?
Well, it's practically standing on your lawn with a giant cosmic boombox blasting messages meant just for you. You just need the right conduit. And that's where Love and Lotus Tarot with Winnie Schrader comes in. Winnie doesn't just read cards. She translates destiny. He helps you see the opportunities lining up, the patterns trying to repeat, and the new beginnings that are already forming behind the scenes. Right on the heels of New Year comes Valentine's Day, which means love is in the air, or at least it should be. And if your love life has been more like a blue screen of death error, romance not found, don't panic, my friends. The universe is already trying to nudge you in the right direction. The cards are ready to be shuffled, your story is ready to turn the next page, and your next beginning is closer than you think. Book your reading now, or better yet, buy a reading for a friend. Visit lovelotustarot.com and start the year the way it deserves, with clarity, confidence, and maybe even finding the love that you deserve. That's lovelotustarot.com. Your destiny awaits.
Hello, Darklings and my fellow mind travelers. This is Mark Allen Lanou, the Gemini Mind. Come take a journey with me through this place we call life by picking up a copy of my book, Reality Was Once the Tapestry of the Dreamer, available on Barnes & Noble and Amazon online. You can find the links also on my website, markallenlanou.com. Chock full of stories about organized crime, the paranormal, my music career, NASA, and more. So go pick up your copy, and you all rock. Indeed.
Andrew Radziewicz, our guest this evening. He is part of a brand new 3-part docuseries called Contact. You can find more information at ws-fm.com. That's ws-fm.com. For those of you listening to the podcast version of the show, I will have that link on today's program guide for you, along with the link to Andrew's website, so you can keep up with him and the other projects that he's working on as well. Before the break, I teased the fact that you had a very profound and interesting experience, and that kind of changed everything for you. Can you take us back to that day? What was it like before it happened and when it struck?
Sure. So prior to that, right, my grandmother had passed away in 2010. And after she passed away, me and my mom went out to eat one night to a restaurant. There was a psychic there that started giving us messages, signs, whatever. So I started to learn meditation and take like classes all over the place, just, tapping into that sixth sense, meditating. So I'm doing that from 2010 on. Okay. So I'm going to the firehouse during the day. On my days off, I'm doing psychic readings, just helping guys I work with, their wives, their cousins, their relatives, preferably people I've never met. Because I don't want to read anyone I know. That's not going to help anything.
Right.
And am I psychic? I have no idea. I don't know at this time. At that time, I'm just figuring this thing out, just winging it as I go. But as I'm doing this, people are like, yeah, this makes sense. That makes sense. Well, I'm meditating, doing all of that. And as well, I was also having some UFO contact as well. So the combination of seeing UFOs, communicating with UFOs, doing meditation training. So I'm doing a lot of work, okay, on my days off. So leading up to,
so you're not trying to walk into this light. You're running full force with a crowbar to pry it open.
Yeah, because I figured if I'm going to do something and I can meet hands-on, face-to-face the people that have had 20, 30 years experience in this, I'm going to go do that. So like I said, I was all over doing meditation training. Then I came across a guy named Dr. Stephen Greer who claimed he could contact UFOs proactively. So I flew to the desert in California, learned how to do that in 2011. So started doing CE5. So I'm doing all this. I'm all in deep, you know. And at this time, nobody in the firehouse knows at first, just a couple guys. I don't want this to get out. You know what I mean? So as time's going on, a couple more guys are knowing here and there. Well, in 2015, we got a cold winter night. It's just after Christmas. So freezing in New York, right? Christmas lights up everywhere. It's quiet. It's right after Christmas, like a day or two after. And at this time, I had about 9 years on the fire department. So I was definitely seasoned. You know what I mean? I had gone to a lot of fires. I'd never had anything happen like this before or after, but this one night we're at work on the third floor of the firehouse, hanging out. I look out of the window at where the gym is. This is just after midnight, and I saw a golden orb, like a ball of light gliding across the city skyline. So I'm like, that's nothing out of the ordinary at this point. I've been doing CE5, been doing all that stuff. So I'm like, whatever. All right, no big deal. I see it moving. Well, I got a feeling like we were going to go to a fire. Now, that's an intuitive thing that firemen get sometimes. You're at work, guys will be like, we're going to a job tonight. I just know it. No psychic stuff, just I feel it. So I had that feeling. So I'm upstairs, and all of a sudden I started to smell smoke. So I'm bolting down to the pole hole, right, to slide down the pole in the firehouse, literally. As I'm going down, boom, second alarm fire right there in Williamsburg. So we're on the truck, we're going down there, and as we're getting ready, you could hear on the radio that people were trapped. They were having fire hydrants that were frozen. So this is bad. This is bad already right off the bat. So we're talking about what we're going to do, where we're going to go, the guys in the back, right? And as we pull up, the whole block is banked down. That means smoke basically to the ground. So it was thick black smoke. We're getting there, and as I get off the truck, okay, all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, I could see there's like this purplish outline, okay? But I heard my grandmother's voice say, Andrew, don't go in there. Now, I smelt her perfume. She had like a 1980s Bill Blast Vanilla Musk, like that old school grandma sense. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I could smell it, though. It was like literally like everything paused for a second. It was just like, everything got real slow. And I could just see this outline, and it was slow but fast. You know what I mean?
Right.
Everything slowed down, but it was like, whoop, Andrew, don't go in there, and then gone. And I'm like, this had never happened before at a fire. Nothing like this. So I'm grabbing my stuff, and I'm like, how do I tell the guys, right? Get to the front of the building. The chief comes over. He's like, ladder 119, you go in the top floor. And I'm like, and I look to the guys next to me. I'm like, hold on a second. They're like, what? And like literally 40 seconds later, the top floor we were ordered to go in, boom, fire blew out of every window. Oof. Now, if I had normally done what I was supposed to do, like I always had done every other time at work, I would have just right in, of course, right away. You don't ask, you go. You ask questions later. If something happens, well, whatever. But I had that feeling something was, something's going on, right? My adrenaline's running. I saw that. What I saw, I'm like, something doesn't feel right. There's no way this isn't making sense. Let me just play it safe, of course. And of course, after guys are like, how did you know that? What happened? And I said, if your soul ever speaks to you, you get some sort of feeling, listen to that. I told them after eventually what happened. They all know now. At the time, I didn't know how to just relay that in the firehouse kitchen after, you know what I mean? So
right.
Like, you know what I mean? They would have been like, what? Your grandma? Bro, come on, bro. It's a little too far now. You know what I mean? So I shared that. And now after that, 2015, I never shared that publicly. I never relayed nothing. No one heard that story. I never shared that because I don't know. I just felt weird sharing that, relaying that. I didn't even know how to make sense of that at first. It was hard to process. Like, did that really happen? Once again, was I imagining that? Now, I know I wasn't because I've been doing years now, 5 years of meditating. If I hadn't, I may have just disregarded that and not listened.
Right. And no reason to disregard now. I mean, did you hallucinate it? Whatever the case,
yes,
it stopped you from what you were going to do, what you were called to do. And you instead were able to save you and your fellow firefighters and You leaned into that sensation, no matter how dumb or weird it may have felt and counterintuitive to the job. And because of that, they're all home with their families. And that's amazing.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I don't care whether people believe that or not. I'm here.
Right.
That's all I know. If I didn't, then I'd be on the back of a T-shirt, which I don't want for anybody or anyone I'm working with. So, and I had 10 years on. I talked to a lot of young guys after. Hey, you ever get that feeling or whatever? That's how I interpret that or process that. But somebody else might see it differently. They might, see another loved one or just get a sense or a feeling. It's not always going to be like that. But I know definitely I had heard enough stories over that 5 years of going on retreats, going to meditation retreats, doing CE5, talking with people, hearing things like that, like, wow, that's possible, right? When you keep doing it. Stephen Greer told me, he said, Andrew, don't try to remote view. Don't try to do this. Let this stuff unfold naturally. Just keep meditating and these things will just happen. So I believe that's what he meant. Like, I wasn't trying to hey, my grandmother has to come and tell. No, it just happened. You know what I mean? It organically happened from continuing to do this.
Well, and when you are hyper focused on what your expectations are, you might miss the other signs that are actually making their way through.
Right. And people like, oh, were you hallucinating or was it this or that? No, call it what you want. I know what I saw. And after I shared this publicly, oh my God, I've had hundreds of people reach out to me that are first responders, hundreds across the world. Andrew, I saw something just like that, or my loved one, or then I started to go around to firehouses in New York. This is nothing. After 9/11, people like, oh, what about the people that died 9/11? Yes, some of them have passed the 9/11. I know guys firsthand, besides me, regular dudes that have seen the apparition, the ghost, whatever you want to call it, of guys that passed the 9/11. A lot of their apparitions would stay around the firehouse still to this day.
Yeah, many firehouses report to be haunted around the United States.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and police stations. It's really interesting. These guys are committed to their role, and this is what they do.
That's right. It's we live in a haunted planet, but also, my understanding from doing a lot of this work is sometimes whatever you've gone through or in that last moment, maybe you can't process. I don't have all the answers. I'm not on the other side. I just have little dribbles, here and there, little drips, but maybe they don't want to leave. Maybe they feel safe where they are. And the guys that I talk to were like, hey, they're not bothering anyone. They want to just be in the corner of the bunk room in the firehouse night. And I see his apparition. Some guys won't sleep in there. Like, no way. I don't want to see it. No, I get it. But other guys are like, hey, just don't rock the apple cart. Like, this is a sensitive thing. But I felt relieved. You know what I mean? Like, wow, it's just not me that I'm, the nut job or the weirdo or, the freak. No, there's regular guys, but you'll never hear them. They're never going to come forward. They're not going to do a podcast. They just want to do their time and get out.
Right.
My life, whatever it is, what it is. And things happen after that, got me in this position. So.
And you said you were guarded with this, and especially with the Brotherhood, you don't know how they're going to respond, and you don't want people thinking you're a crazy firefighter. But eventually the top got torn off, right? And was it the New York Post that came knocking? Talk to us about that experience.
So that happens. Then unfortunately, and people could look this up, where I used to work in Ladder 119, one of my bosses, Lieutenant Ambelis, tragically passed in a fire. So that's awful, right? That's a terrible thing. I wish no one had to go through. So we went through that collectively together. Here I am tapping in, doing this stuff. I wasn't working when that happened. I wasn't working at the time. I tore my quad, actually. I was out of work, but it was in the firehouse that I worked at. So yeah, collectively, oh my God, what a horrible thing. But I'm still doing the work, still going through all this stuff. Then around 2017, I noticed a lot of people were coming forward. Whistleblowers, people that I knew for many, many years said, hey, 2017 is the year. So I just started to listen, and I'm like, hey, I think I feel comfortable sharing my experiences. So I went out, made the mistake of going on Facebook and sharing my experiences. Yes, some great people, and then some other people. You're a fraud. You're this, you're that. All this crazy stuff. Whatever, just part of the journey. But at the time, I'm like, man, am I doing the right thing? Should I have done this? Well, I didn't know at the time, but somebody from the New York Post was watching everything I was doing, and I get a text one day, and it says, hey, we're running an article about you tomorrow. We want to know if you can give a comment. I'm like, wait. can I see the article? What did you write? And I'm like, looking this person up, who are they? I don't even know who they are. I've never heard of them. And all of their previous articles that they did were like hit pieces on firefighters, like, oh, more firefighters are getting injured in kitchen fires than at fires. That is because firemen don't report injuries. The majority of guys I work with never go sick ever for anything. So that's why So I'm like, oh my God, like I could see this is not good. So I'm like, show me what you wrote. They won't show me. So I was like, I got no comment. So but at that time I had to call the FDNY press desk and tell them everything. Like, hey, this is what I've been doing. Like kind of living a double life. And they're like, no. You're doing this on your days off. When you're not at work, you're doing readings. You're doing this for free. Okay, you're helping people cope with grief, death, all these things. They're like, we actually have no problem with this. More guys should be doing that on their days off. So I was like, they're like, don't worry about anything. Now, of course, yes, that was great. They had my back. I didn't want that though, because I wanted to. I said, I have no problem if one day somebody approaches me press-wise or professionally and says, hey, I want to know about what you do. I would tell them whatever they wanted to know. That's not the experience I had. It was totally different. So I didn't know what was going to happen. The FDNY called the post and said, don't run it. They were like, we're running it. He works for the city, blah, blah, blah. They have a right to know, whatever. So they ran what they ran. I have no problem. If anything I'm in, if I say something, I saw this or I experienced that, yes, I stand behind it. When you go through these things, you go through paranormal things, a lot of things are weird. A lot of things don't make sense. And when people read that, they're like, oh, this weirdo is seeing UFOs and communicating with his, loved ones and his dog. And it sounds crazy, but if you've had a loved one or a pet or anyone die, you know that they can visit you or you get a sign on the other side. So I really don't care what someone like that's going to say. But if you're open-minded, you know that this stuff is possible. So At first it was a curse, but yes, in the end, it really was a blessing, that article.
You also were gifted with a glimpse of a past life. You were given this opportunity. So you just mentioned the curse and then the embracing of it and realizing what a gift. When these things are trickling out and hitting you, did you ever get to the point where you're like, wait, I need this gone. I just want to be done.
Yeah. So anyone that's done anything like this, you'll understand this totally. So when you do this and you're around people that you care about, love about, and you might see something or sense something, right? Hey, you sense, right? Something bad's going to happen. You relay it to a cousin or a friend. Hey, man, watch out for this. And they don't act and something bad happens. That can rattle you. You know what I mean? So that years ago, I'm past that. But years ago, I was like, man, if my own family or people aren't going to listen to me, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Maybe I am nuts. I did have that feeling, but I met a doctor named Gary Nolan at Stanford who was extremely helpful for me on my journey. When I was early on going through things, I reached out to him. I was also, like I said, doing CE5 and having weird experiences. And he said to me, Andrew, I don't doubt anything you're doing. I know you're not lying. And we spoke at length. He's like, I find it fascinating what you're going through. If anyone gives you a hard time, just say, too bad. You have a really cool, interesting life. They're not going to get it. Just keep doing what you're doing. And I was like, wow, that's someone professional, a top scientist nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize telling me, hey, man, don't worry about it. So that really inspired me to just keep being who I am.
That's awesome. Let's talk about your glimpse of a past life and what that was like for you, and what did that reveal? What new aspects of life did you learn from that?
So when all this went down, right, and I came forward, I did an interview with a guy, and after the interview, this lady, Mary Rodwell, had reached out to me.
Sure, from Australia, right? Or New Zealand? Australia.
She's in Australia, yeah.
Right,
so she reached out to me and said, Andrew, I want to do a regression on you. I'm like, I don't know. I don't want to go to Fantasyland. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Because Jacques Vallée, who I know and respect very well, he would say, yeah, there's studies done on regressions, and some of them are nonsense. So just be very careful. People can dictate or guide you. So depending on who it is, I just felt very comfortable with her. Regardless, I filmed the whole session, recorded the whole thing, and I connected with Mary because when I did my first interview, it was with a guy named Michael Harold's on YouTube. The first interview I did in like 2016, 2017. During the interview, he goes, Andrew, you're turning blue. I'm like, what? He goes, turn the camera around. Now, something was going on with the electronics or something like that. where, as I talked about my experiences, I literally was turning blue, dark blue, and like I'm like, it's got to be broken. So I went out and bought another computer. Same thing happened in my next interview. I'm like, whatever. He felt, Michael's like, Andrew, I think you're tapping in to like 4D reality. I'm like, I don't even know what that means at this point, but okay,
Right.
whatever. Let's just keep going. So I just kept talking for the whole 2 hours. I'm turning blue on and off. Well, Mary Rodwell, I get another computer, regresses me, and she goes, Andrew, you were turning blue. That's impossible. So I'm like, all right, what do I do with this? That's great, but what do I do? She goes, you need to find a geneticist. And I'm like, okay, that's how I found Gary Nolan. Well, also during this regression, I said to her, I go, I'm getting the feeling like this. Someone behind me, she's blue. I go, she's expressing to me that I died in a past life. She was my mom, and that she feels upset because I drowned in water, and she's trying to come through to me and contact me now in this reality. Now, as I'm saying this, I'm feeling behind me. So after I look at the video, and as I said that, there's something behind me that's blue. But what really, really took it to the next level, after the regression, I called my mom. Now, my mom would not do anything like that. She's open. She's got abilities, no doubt about it, but would not do anything like I'm doing. So I said, she's like, what'd you do today? I said, I got a regression. And she's like, what's that? I go, that's like you know, you can tap into past lives or things like that. She goes, that's interesting. She goes, because when you were like 3 or 4 years old, she goes, you looked at me and you go, Mom, I already died once. I drowned in water. I had another mom. I went up to heaven. I saw Jesus. And now I came back, and now you're my new mom in this life. I go, what did you say? And like, why did that happen? What did you say after? She goes, I was just like, okay. And I never brought it up again. And I'm like, what? So I didn't know my whole life. No one told me that until I'm like 35, 36, whatever. So I'm like, oh my God, is that like a past life thing? Now that I told her after, though, I didn't tell her about the regression. What happened? I go, because in the regression, some woman was behind me that was blue or something and said I drowned in water, and, you know, she was my mom in another life. I'm like, that's crazy. That doesn't make any, you know, that wouldn't make any sense. My mom had no prior knowledge. So yes, that to me was some sort of other reality or something, a previous life, something like that. Yeah.
So is the drowning why you were blue, or do you think that this is an alien connection, especially if the mother figure behind you is blue skin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that you've heard I don't like to get too crazy with terms, because people are like, oh, they're definitely Octurians or Pleiadians. There was a blue woman, possibly Octurian or something like that, or some race of beings that is beyond our comprehension. I don't even like to put a word on it, but something was physically behind me. I have a photo. There's something blue.
But it was different than human being. You believe it was a different
very
spirit.
Tall, extremely tall, something beyond human, but expressing that they were connected to me. So is that alien? Is it something? I don't think it was human. It was something from either a different timeline or this previous life, something like that, where in the previous life or other timeline, that's the result. Something, it's hard to make sense. You know what I mean? Because when you have these experiences, people know too, most of the communication's telepathic. So you're like downloading, you're like, whoa. Oh my God. They're not like, hey, I was your mom. And no, that would be so easy. I'd be finding missing kids right now all over the world if they spoke to me, all these spirits and everything. It's not that easy. It's like a lot of telepathy, but that's the best way I could comprehend what was going on.
We have to take another quick break, but when we come back, I've noticed an interesting correlation between different elements of Andrew's life, different experiences people have had, and something that seems to be a thread that I guess is the first time I'm pulling on. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll talk a little bit more about that right here on the Paranormal 60.
You know, my darklings, December moves pretty fast. All the outings, the parties, the shopping, the travel, the did we actually wrap everything chaos? But once the noise dies down, there's always that one moment that I look forward to most. Slowing down, cozying up, and just being present with the people I love. And that's exactly why I keep going back to Cozy Earth. Their bamboo sheets, made from viscose from bamboo, are the best gift of better sleep I've ever given, and the best gift I've ever given myself. They're incredibly soft. They sleep cooler, and somehow they make crawling into bed feel like you're slipping into a luxury retreat. And if you've got someone on your list who desperately needs rest, or if that someone is you, this is the gift that says, take a breath. You deserve this. And then there's the bubble cuddle blanket. I've told you about this. If you want to give a gift that feels more like an experience than a product, like a hug that they can feel from you any time of year, this is the gift. It's got that plush textured feel, just the right weight, and it turns any couch or bed into the coziest corner of the house. Snuggling by the fire, movie nights, maybe even a quiet moment on the couch. This blanket makes all of it better. It's comfort that lingers long after the holidays end. Plus, you get a 100-night sleep trial and a 10-year warranty. Think about that. Try returning any other bedding after using it for 3 months. That just ain't gonna happen. Cozy Earth stands behind every stitch. So here's the deal. Now, through December 12th, head to CozyEarth.com and use my code P60 for up to 40% off. And order by the 12th for guaranteed Christmas delivery. Listening after that? Don't worry, my darklings. The code still works, and it's going to get you 20% off year-round. And if you get that post-purchase survey, make sure to mention you heard about Cozy Earth right here on the Paranormal 60. Again, CozyEarth.com. Use my code P60 for up to 40% off through December 12th, 20% off year-round. Give the gift of comfort that lasts beyond the holidays and carries you into a cozy new year.
Did you know that radio just got a little extraterrestrial? That's right, Dave Schrader is back on radio with the Paranormal 360 every Sunday evening, 7 to 9 p.m. Central on WCCO AM 830, an Odyssey station. Just download the Odyssey app and look for the WCCO logo, follow the station, and listen live. That's the Paranormal 360 on WCCO AM 830, an Odyssey station.
We're back. This is the Paranormal 60. Andrew, again, is part of a 3-part docuseries called Contact. You can find more information at WS, that's W like Walter, S like Sam, -FM.com. We'll have a link for that on today's program guide. Plus, we'll have a link to see Andrew and his website and keep up with him and all of his projects. And I've had some people asking, do you do private readings? Can they reach out to you through your website and get readings at this point?
Yeah, absolutely. Just go to psychicfirefighter.com. It's real easy.
Perfect. All right. The question I have for you is something kind of struck me as we're having this discussion. You talk about near-death experiences. You talk about past lives, talking about alien encounters. Isn't it interesting that people that have shared these near-death experiences talk about entering into a big, bright room where they see an outline of a tall figure, sometimes a shapeless figure, and almost distorted, but they get the sense that it is a religious phenomenon. It's a Jesus character or a God character. Then you have people on the other side who have UFO abduction cases. And many will say that they saw themselves floating out of their bed through the wall or window, and then they're in a bright white room with these large beings. Both share very interesting qualities in the fact that it's an ethereal form, a soul abduction that the aliens do. Not always a physical, but it seems like they're able to take that transcendental version of you to study and work on as well. What do you make of this? I mean, is life really what we think it is? Is death what we really think it is? Or are we just part of an alien transaction that we elevate and death becomes something else, and we maybe step through that light to become a Palladian or a Nordic or whatever else is out there? Do you think there is this large cycle that just keeps spinning through the universe, and we keep living different lives in different ways?
Yeah, I think that, we're like half, physical and half spiritual, and we're going in that direction on at least this timeline, this reality, towards more spiritual eventually after this. Wow, then we're all spiritual. So I know some of the beings express that they're interested because we have the mix of being physical, where they're all, non-physical. So it's like curiosity, interesting, right? So my experiences with this, I've not been abducted, no crazy doomsday end of the world. I just haven't had that, nothing like that. It's been like a beautiful, peaceful interaction, lives were saved once, but besides that, proactive CE5. They haven't relayed anything like, oh God, this is, doomsday is coming, nothing like that. So I'm not saying that doesn't exist. I think anything is possible. Okay. Intention is the key. And I think that we all can shift individually, but ultimately collectively into this new reality. It seems like even the UFO phenomena, right? It's like mainstream. It wasn't like that years ago. So even focusing on something, you see how powerful your intention is. Consciousness is the key to all of this. So that is the bottom line. The consciousness aspect, if you don't look into that, if you look all physical with this, you're never going to get after it. To me, it's that consciousness connection that we are part of something much greater. And this is just like a stop along the highway. This is just a little school off and then jump back on and you go into that intergalactic or whatever that highway is. And I can't even put it into words. That's why, like, even with beings, I don't even like to categorize because I've seen so many different types and I can't even, it's beyond words. You know what I mean? It's just beyond words. But I think our brain, our subconscious mind too, as a defense mechanism, wants to attach something we see to, oh, it's an angel. Oh, it's a demon. Oh, just so it makes sense, as opposed to, really, I don't know, unless it says to you, hi, I am this. I can't say. Most of my contact is nonverbal with them. It's just like experiencing and this telepathy going on. So, yeah.
Walk me through that, Andrew. I've had weird experiences. I've seen what I believe to be a Bigfoot when I was very young. I've seen UFOs over Trout Lake, Washington at the Assetti Ranch. I've had strange experiences with psychic phenomena and ghosts throughout my life, but they're always in snippets and flashes and bites that leave me feeling like I'm living this surreal life. I can't even begin to fathom what it's like to have had the kind of experiences to the depth in which you are doing this and not feel like you're losing your mind. Because even in simple matters, I'm downstairs at the Palmer House here doing a little investigation this weekend with some ladies, and we catch an EVP of this little child's voice saying, I'm a silly ghost, and it kind of giggles. And I heard it, and there's no little children in this room. It's me and a bachelorette party doing an investigation. And my brain is just, how is that possible? I can't, how do you deal with that and not think, I gotta be crazy. I'm nuts. There's no way this is real.
Yeah. So I think it's all about whatever you're doing, but just like a phone, right? Eventually you got to recharge it. So I do not wake up in the middle of the night and have some crazy download of there's ETs in my bed. No. I would lose my mind of being a psych ward. You know what I mean? So
right.
At first, right. And people I was around training and doing things taught me, hey, there's proper etiquette. We don't do that 24/7. Just whenever we want surprising people, you do it. And then when you're done, you go and be yourself after, you with your family. And it's not like that. But when you're in it, yeah, you could turn it on or off. So basically, I've learned to turn that on or off. The only time it would intervene is if something is imminent. Same thing, imminent danger. That's different. But normally, I could be at the firehouse all day with guys shooting basketball, hanging out, watching football, and nothing. Like that's not even going to be brought up. But I know if I'm around certain people, hey, we could do that all night and talk about it. So really, it just I've learned to, no matter what my environment is, be professional. And then when it's time to do what you got to do, and then after that, just be yourself. Because yes, I know I've learned from other people over the years, getting too all in or like losing it and watching. The daily care I take for myself. Don't drink, don't use any drugs, nothing like that. Meditate daily. Most people I know do not do that. They're utilizing and doing something. So that has really helped to keep me grounded through all of this, because just for me personally, I wouldn't be able to handle going and taking mushrooms or anything like that. And then, doing readings the next day, forget it, wouldn't work. I wouldn't be able to handle all that. So yeah, it's like training that muscle, right? I train that through a decent lifestyle. I love Oreos. I love ice cream. I'm not organic and all that stuff. You know what I mean? I'll eat stuff, candy with my daughter. But once again, everything within reason. You know what I mean? Try not to have too much of anything.
Does your daughter show signs that this bloodline has continued?
It is a family affair. So I have a 6-year-old daughter, and at 1.5, we're outside, and we're coming in the driveway. I have a video of her just pointing up and saying, light, light, the light. And there's an orb going over the house. I filmed it. It's beautiful. To now, she goes, Daddy, can we go outside? I want to see the lights. I just let her piece together whatever that is. If she asks, that's different. I will gladly tell her whatever I can, but I really want her to figure out and piece together what this is. Is it grandma? Is it, great grandma? Is it alien? Let her figure that out and see there's no harm. And then she could sort out or go whatever direction she's like, instead of saying, oh, it's the Pleiadians. Oh, it's, whatever it is. It's the blue chicken cult. No, you know what I mean?
Right.
Let her just sort out whatever it is on her own. And then she'll see and separate that. And, always be realistic. You want to have an open mind, but, you don't want to go too over the top that, it's an angel every time there's a light. Maybe it's a drone. Get a satellite chart, which we have. We have all that stuff. I want to share too, that Contact film is unique. I've done a lot of projects. That is the first project I've ever done in my life, docuseries, that has been peer reviewed. So that is sensational. With all people always ask, how do you know this is credible? Blah, 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 all that. Yes, this is peer reviewed. I'm in a peer reviewed film, a 3-part series. So check it out for yourself. I high this in high regard. My contact experiences. I've had my footage analyzed at MUFON, all that stuff. Scientists at Stanford. Oh my God, Melbourne University out here, all over. I take this very seriously, and I'm on being critiqued and being, look at this, maybe you need to look over there. I am open. I just don't care for cynics. It's just not my thing.
I agree. It's you got to be open to it, right? And if you aren't, you're not hurting anybody else by being a cynic. You're just cheating yourself of possibilities and seeing a little bit of that magic around us. Again, the documentary series is called Contact. It's a 3-part drama series, or a docuseries rather. And you can find information at ws-fm.com. Before we head out, you talk about not wanting to compartmentalize things. Do you find that it's a bit of an anchor around your neck to be the psychic firefighter, because you're so much more than just the psychic firefighter?
That's a label years ago. People said to me, hey, I was in a meditation class and people were like, you're the psychic firefighter. And that's it. It just, you know what I mean? It just kind of stuck. And I'm a 3rd-generation firefighter. It's deep roots in my family. Oh my God, I still talk to the guys all the time. I still have a lot of friends still on the job. It's one of those things. I still have that adrenaline rush when I hear sirens and smell smoke. So yeah, it's just part of me. And I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't do that. You know what I mean? If I didn't have that life-saving encounter, that like catapulted to go, whoa, this is for real. Like, oh my God, this can save your life if you tap into this. How do I not share that? You know what I mean? I feel like I'd be doing a disservice to just keep that to myself. So when I first moved, I'm currently in Australia. When I first moved to Australia, I had to get a job to get residency. So I got a job in a funeral home. So I was a mortician for about 4 years when I lived here. Then I got my residency, and I am the psychic fighter now 24/7 since COVID. Eat, sleep, and breathe this. You know what I mean? It's my thing. But that too, that was good, because I always say to people, they're like, you don't know what it's like to be dead. I say, no, I don't. But I know what it's like to prepare them. I know what it's like to be next to them. Literally, I have lived that other side. I've been there with families, and oh my God, it helps with everything I am at this point. I know a lot about grieving and what it's like for families to not have resources and all these things. So I have a unique experience. So I wouldn't change this for anything. You know what I mean? If I wasn't doing this or being known as that, I feel like I wouldn't be who I truly need to be on this planet. I know what I'm supposed to be. And I've met a lot of people that have no clue and never find out. And I don't want to die not knowing that. I'm grateful I know that.
We only have about a minute and a half left here together. From all of the things you've experienced and encountered, from all the lessons you've learned, if I could ask you to pick 1 or 2 pieces right now, what do you think is important for the viewers of the world that are watching this program right now, or in repetition on repeat, listening around the world? What 2 things do you think are most important for people to focus on right now?
Well, number 1, know that on the other side, my experience is that there is no judgment when your relatives transition, right? All the nonsense and all the infighting and who didn't show up for Thanksgiving. They don't care about that. That's gone. They just want you to be happy. You don't have to be an angel. If you make a mistake, do the best you can to make it right, make an amend, because you want to settle that, right? You want to, they have that expression, your heart should be as light as a feather. Basically, that just means make your amends, do the best you can. Hey, make it right with somebody. If they don't want to talk to you, that's it. Just move on. You did the best you could, but you are loved unconditionally on that other side. Yes, it is always best to do right and love one another, right? You're either living in love or fear. So if you need inspiration or you're a little stuck, think of what your loved one, whether it's your cat, your aunt, uncle, relative, whoever it is that loved you dearly, what they would want. They'd want you to be happy and live. Honor them by living the life that, hey, they'd want me to do my thing and be happy, right? Use that as inspiration. That is number one, right? I think that is number one most important thing.
Great. Yep.
And just number two, I'd say number two, we are living in interesting times. There's more coming. This is just how this goes. The Chinese zodiac changes February 17th. So that is when we go into the new energy. So between now and then, yes, things will happen. And even in the new year, change will occur. Change is guaranteed, right? I studied numerology, astrology. Things go in cycles. I feel that the cheat code to getting ahead or being successful in life that can really help is if you can understand some basic numerology and astrology, apply it to your life. I learned this over the years, and I've had friends, clients, family utilize this, and oh my God, it has made a tremendous difference in life, doing things based on numerically instead of just, hey, I'm just going to run my gut feeling. No, don't do that. Have a plan. Please have a plan. In the times we live in, have a plan, lay out what you want, and be blunt and direct about your intention in this new year. With the new energy coming in, a horse is bold, blunt, direct. Be bold, blunt, direct in the new year.
Fantastic. Andrew Radziewicz, thank you so much for your service, for your family service, for not only what you did with the firefighters and working with people and trying to save and help lives, but for continuing to carry that on in your new journey. So thank you, and we wish you all the success in the world.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you. And thank you all for tuning in and spending some time with us again tonight. And if it's okay with you, let's just do a little prayer here at the end. Just one more chance to connect. And Lord, I just ask that you be with everyone that's listening to this program or watching it right now. Lift their hearts, bring it light, bring it peace, bring their worries and sorrow to an end. And I just ask that you bring enlightenment and touch the hearts of those that are holding hate and anger, resentment, fear, jealousy, pettiness in their hearts. I ask that you release that and allow those things to go away so that we can start seeing each other for who we are and what we are, human beings living a human existence on the same planet. Stop putting boundaries where they don't belong and start allowing people to be people and love to flourish. And Lord, I just ask that anybody that's suffering out there mentally with depression and anxiety, that you begin to heal them and show them another way. Bring them to the light, bring them to an exposure, maybe even like our guest, giving them that gift of awakening and realizing that there is more to life than what they're experiencing right now. And we know that when one or more come together in your name, you hear our prayers. And we ask you now to hear our prayers and bring peace and healing to all that are suffering and to the families of those that have lost their lives in the state of Minnesota recently and around the world. We pray this in your name. Amen. When you hear stories like we heard tonight, it's easy to focus on the extraordinary moments, the visions, the warnings, the things that shouldn't be possible. But what lingers tonight isn't just what Andrew said or what he saw, it's what he risked. He didn't gain his credibility from a stage or a studio. He earned it in burning buildings with people's lives on the line. And when the voices spoke up, he listened, even when it cost him everything he thought his future would be. Maybe the real question isn't whether the other side exists. Maybe it's how many of us hear the call and how few are willing to answer it. So for those of us trying to make sense of a world that feels bigger, stranger, and more disconnected at times, tonight was a reminder. Sometimes the fire isn't there to destroy you. Sometimes it's there to reveal who you really are. So thank you for tuning in to your home for the paranormal. I'm Dave Schrader, and this is our Paranormal 60.